the Oval in 2001 pretty much typifies Stephen, what he asked of himself and what he would hope others would want to contribute. And he wouldn't ask you to do something if he wasn't prepared to do it. So the fight to get fit, to make that statement about what it means to play for our country and to get out there and carry it out, that pretty much typifies Stephen. And as we've all seen, that image of him lying in the dirt, raising his bat, is a nice one. It's one that a lot of people should remember Steve Waugh as, because he was a fighter and determination right to the bone to carry out a task.
He had 2 calf tears. One was about a 5 centimetre longitudinal tear, and a little bit higher up he had a small tear, which was about 2 centimetres. Still nasty, 2 centimetre tear is nasty, let alone a 5 centimetre tear.
It wasn't a good diagnosis. They said basically it's a 3 to 6 month rehab if you're lucky. And I was sitting in a wheelchair when I got the news, and we just actually won the Ashes while I was in the hospital, because it was, that afternoon we'd sort of won the Ashes and wrapped it up, and it was a mixture of emotions that we won the Ashes. I was a captain, I wasn't at the ground, I was in the hospital thinking I was going to be out for 6 months in a wheelchair. So it was a pretty crazy couple of minutes. I actually called home, spoke to my wife and told her the news, and I was pretty despondent about it and said, look, I'm not going to hang around, I don't want to be a burden on the team, I'm going to get on the next flight home. And she said, no you're not, you're going to stay there, you're going to be on the balcony at the Oval, and you're going to hold the Ashes up as the winning captain. And so I took her advice and stayed on, and from that moment on, Errol and myself had a plan for the next 19 days to try and get ready for the Oval test.
I always like to stay a little bit optimistic instead of putting the kibosh on it and finalising it full stop straight away. I like to wait to see how it pulls up 24 hours later, 36 hours later, and then start talking about the prognosis really. But it wasn't looking good, and he was pretty depressed about it. We went to Birmingham, and the initial part of his therapy, which was very important, rather than not doing much at all for the first week, he was really involved in a dynamic program in water, which I think set up a good platform. So he was basically attached to my hip, if you like, and he's a good patient. He had these things to do in the morning, had a break for lunch, and then we were at it all again in the afternoon, had a break for dinner, and then some sort of modified therapy again in the evening, and then let him sleep, because that's important too.
And it wasn't until the 16th day that I actually started running, so it was first 15 days, very intensive, a lot of hands-on treatment, digging into the muscles with Errol's thumbs, which he was fantastic at, to try and realign the fibres so they heal correctly. A lot of pool work, a lot of bike work, and as a physio, I trusted him 100%. He got me in the park many, many times before, and I was just guided by what he said I had to do each day, and we kept building it up and building it up.
I don't think there was one day in particular where we thought, we're going to go for this. It was, let's just do lots of hard work and see where it takes us. As the days moved on and his response was so positive, it grew in baby steps, if you like. It wasn't like, well, in 19 days you're going to be strutting out to the middle and batting for Australia. It was never like that.
With a couple of days to go, I was sort of rated myself a 30 to 40% chance. The day before it was a 50-50 chance. The morning of the game I was probably 60-70% fit, but I thought, I've got to get out there and play. It's the last test of the series.
We went for a run that morning of the test match, day 1, just to check on him, just to see what he was thinking. And I remember thinking, well, he's functional, but it's only been 3 weeks or 19, 20 days or something. It's not going to take much to undo all the healing that's taken place. So we talked about it and said, obviously you can't be sprinting up and back and forth. You're going to have to choose your shots, go easy, if you're going to do it, or not do it. So the decision then was really over to him.
I'm a captain. I also wanted to send a bit of a message out to the England side, who at the time had a few players pull out a test match with niggling injuries, and I just thought it would show them that the Australians are maybe a bit tougher. Probably stupidly I went out and played that test match.
We knew he was an absolute street fighter, and given any kind of situation, even on one leg, he would come in and fight hard and would get runs against us. So, no, you knew that you were in a contest when Steve Waugh came out to bat.
Steve's decision to play was quite extraordinary. I think there's no doubt he wasn't 100% fit, and people may question why he played, given it was at what we term a dead rubber. But his, the psychology of his game, the strength of mind that he has is obvious to everyone and very well documented. And that was just another case of showing that mental and physical commitment to doing whatever it takes to get on the field.
Whatever anybody says, Steve Waugh can't be 100% fit.
Look, I was very, very nervous, I must admit, because I knew I was really pushing the envelope playing that match, and there was no guarantees I was going to make it through. All of a sudden, the realisation came that I was captain, and if I did let the team down, we'd only be playing 10 men, and it was a foolish decision. So I was really committed to try and play as well as I could.
Inside edge.
Once he started, I think he realised that he was going to be a tougher battle than what he thought, and his greatest concern was making sure he didn't let the team down. But I think results show that he certainly didn't do that in compiling the innings he scored, and just having his leadership out there again to captain and lead the team was a really bold statement by him to show the commitment that we had as a group and he had for playing for Australia.
Through the gap and 4.
But I started well. I'd say a couple of boundaries, and then unfortunately I felt a twinge in the top of my glute when I got to about 20. So one of the conversations that I did have with Mark was, I don't think we were going to be able to take too many quick singles, so just be careful on the one. So, and then not long after I felt another twinge in my other calf, and so I was really very fragile at the time and decided I was just going to play a lot of shots and try and hit fours.
He's hoiked that away. Full line this time.
Well, that's launched over the leg side. That'll be 4 more. Goff's not going to get... Over the top, that's 4 more. Extraordinary skills on view here from the injured Steve Waugh.
I guess the key for me was to try and block out what was potentially happening with my body and just concentrate on the batting. And we had England on the ropes at that stage, so they were a bit vulnerable, I guess a bit like myself, so I decided to go on the attack.
You don't even have to leave the crease.
I was there in the 90s for a long time and just couldn't get there. And even when I was 99, I hit that run, and for a split second you forget you got an injury until you take off. And I thought, geez, what have I done here? Something gets you through, adrenaline gets you through, and you make that dive.
He's got it. He's flat out, raises his bat with a big smile. That is a monumental effort from Stephen Waugh, Australia's captain.
Dirt and dust and everything, and then lying on the ground and just raising the bat up. Pretty symbolic of Steve Waugh.
He's going. He's got it.
I was on the ground with the bat in the air, and I guess that was the moment people talk about. But for those couple of seconds, you don't really feel the pain until you get up and go, geez, my leg's starting to hurt a bit. But the pain is erased by the thrill of getting 100, particularly against England in an Ashes series.
I think that memory will be etched in the minds of any cricket lover, and certainly someone who follows the Ashes for a long time.
A desperate dive to get in, the red sort of rag hanging out of his pocket, and he had to pick that up and then wave at the dressing room. And then you sort of knew that it would be the mind games and the press would start up. Here's the hero of Australia is back, and what a way to do it, and there's to the Poms, we can even do you on one leg.
It's his 27th Test match 100.
When you overcome the odds and you've got a few doubts in your own mind about what's going on, personally, and also it's most satisfying for the support staff, particularly Errol, who was the physio. I really, when I got the 100, I acknowledged his help, and it was also his 100 just as much as it was mine, because I wouldn't have made to the field without Errol. And I guess in a lot of ways, my wife back home who told me to stay on in the tour, because I was quite prepared when the initial injury happened to go home because I didn't want to be a burden on the team. So it really was a collective effort. So I was probably more so pleased for those people who had supported me to get that far in the innings, and also I guess for the team for allowing me, I guess, the luxury of playing that match when I wasn't fully fit. I mean, it's not something that everyone has the opportunity to do, but as a captain you probably have that little bit of extra say, so I was fortunate that I played.
It was really nice of him to do that and sort of acknowledge that particular moment, because there was a lot of work put in. But then again, that's what you're there for at the end of the day. You're there to try and assist the performance of the players and deal with their well-being. So that moment was one of the more treasured moments. Yeah, they're the moments you savour for sure.